Does anyone else have thoughts on, the risk element of including, California is in some ways a safer state than others. There are many states where it would be much riskier. And I'm wondering if, Stephanie or Suzann, if you have thoughts on, the risk of including it, and do we include it even if it's going to mean the rest of the bill or bills don't pass?
Well, so I'll say this with the caveat that I am a litigator. My work isn't largely in the policy arena, so my colleagues who work in the policy arena are always talking about the importance of, creating coalitions and building bridges, and I say, I'm just going to sue someone. So that's kind of the mindset that I bring to this work. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But I think over the last decade, 2 decades, we've seen the risks of not having an inclusive agenda.
Yes.
And when we are divided, when we're all factionalized and all working in separate silos, we are not as effective, and we have not been making progress. And so I think at this point the risks of taking a different approach are pretty minimal because we don't have much to lose. There's a lot to potentially gain, but not a lot to lose at this point. And I think that increasingly our experience is showing that these issues are all interconnected. Yeah. So in Texas, as a lot of research was going on to try to figure out the impact of the restrictive abortion laws in the state, it came to light that Texas has one of the highest maternal mortality rates, not just in the country, but a rate that rivals many nations in the developing world, and that there are huge racial disparities in the rate of maternal mortality in Texas, as in other places in the US, and women of color are at 3 times greater risk from dying of a pregnancy-related cause than white women, and that is in part because of inadequate access to abortion. It's in part because of inadequate access to contraception, but it's also because of a disinvestment in women's health care in general, and in the health care of poor communities. So a lot of women in certain places in Texas, when they become pregnant, they're already at a health deficit because they haven't had good primary care all along, and then pregnancy exacerbates those conditions and they can't get good prenatal care. So I think that, all of these issues compound one another, and advocates for women's health and women's rights, I think, would really do themselves a service and would do the communities that they serve a service by working together more and collaborating towards common goals and common values.